Welcome to Tales of Abuse. I'm your host, ClericofMadness, the founder of the Creepypasta Wiki. Tales of Abuse is a show where I look at the Wiki's abuse filter log to bring you stories lost to the filter and offer insight as to why the filters are there, as well as potential ways to better such stories. All content posted to the Wiki is CC BY-SA, though since linking is not an option, I will be offering critique and commentary such that the readings can be considered fair use. This is not a show for belittling or humiliating authors, just a show to help people learn and improve. Today's episode is Pokemon Dark by JoshuaFOXX. One day, I was on my cell phone playing an emulator of Pokemon Red, my favorite one in the series that I could get for free. All of a sudden, I received a message from my friend. He said that he found something I would love. I replied, okay, and arrived a few minutes later at his house. He took me to his basement and showed me a cardboard box. Wow, this looks so amazing, I said sarcastically. Then he said, it's what's in the box that will surprise you, he said joyfully. I opened it, surprised to see a CD, and I saw the words Pokemon Dark on it. Is this supposed to be a beta version of Pokemon Black or something? I said confusingly. I have no idea, but since you're into this kind of stuff, I decided to give it to you. I would have thrown it away if I didn't know you, he said casually. I decided to take it, since I didn't know what to do, but before I left, I asked where he got it. He said he got it from his dad when he still worked at Nintendo, said that it was confiscated from a person who tried to make money off the game. He said that he played it years ago and enjoyed it the short time he played it, said he doesn't remember all the details, but said it was a fun experience. When I got home, I went to my room and got on my computer. I logged in, then put the CD in the slot after getting everything ready. I began the game, but turned on my screen cam to do a review on this game I had never heard of. I prepared myself because I had no idea if this was a stupid bootleg or not. The moment I loaded it up, I heard some cheerful music playing. It gave me nostalgia immediately, and I enjoyed it. Then the screen brightens up as I see a small cutscene of a trainer on top of a podium with his hand in the air, carrying a Pokeball in the middle of a stadium with confetti falling. Then I see the title screen appeared and pressed enter, created a new game and saw the loading screen appear. It was black screen with the words loading on the side with the Magnemite looking left then right over and over. After it was over, it shows a kid running with a bag on the sidewalk next to a street with no cars in the middle of the day. Then it transitions to the kid talking to mom and dad. Now I see the kid walking toward a Pokelab. I see a professor next to a girl and a boy. I did the part where I chose boy or girl. My name, my Pokemon, the options I had was Fennekin, Bulbasaur, and Ammonite, which I found a weird combination. I chose Fennekin because I already knew its attacks and weaknesses. I find out the girl is my sister and the boy is my nemesis called Blake. My sister is younger and apparently will go with me, which I found interesting for a Pokemon game. Then I realized that Blake hadn't said a word, and the moves onto the adventure I played normally. Then realized there was barely any tall grass and it was harder to encounter a Pokemon, and there wasn't any trainers nearby. I was worried I would be too low level to get past the first gym if this continues, so I farmed. I realized that some Pokemon here were not from the series, so they must only exist in this game. I thought I played for hours and hours enjoying myself, and I noticed small problems and noticeable problems, like no saves or no trainers. Around, everything was dark-toned. Then on Route 15 I see something incredibly strange. I see Missing No. Me being super surprised chose to catch it and see what it has. I was surprised to see that all it had were the attacks that a level 1 Fennekin would have. I was worried when I realized that only Missing No appeared everywhere. I finally get to the gym in this route and enter the gym. I received the usual loading screen, but instead of a black screen it was Missing No's color palette. When it finished loading, I see darkness. I walk around and only see pitch black, except my character sprite. The music had stopped, and I finally found the gym leader, but he looked like he had a big creepy smile with big black eyes with something around his neck. I see a butt clearer now and realize he was hanged, so I got scared, but all of a sudden the match starts. I summoned my Missing No, but the gym leader didn't summon anything. I only saw a bit of dialogue appear. Congratulations, you ended it, ended me. I'm free, free from the chains you placed me in. Now it's your turn to scream, comes out of nowhere, causing me to shake, and then I look at my screen, and all I saw was the words, you killed the only person who cared, in dark red. I was frightened, but I jumped in bed hoping that this was all a bad dream. Then I hear a knock on the door, not from the living room, but from my door. So this is your average Pokemon creepypasta. Someone receives or finds a haunted cartridge, corrupt cartridge, or a unique version from someone that worked at Nintendo, and can involve altered Pokemon or altered encounters. Either way it goes, though, it often ends with the death of the characters in the game or the player as well. Then, as is usual for pastas that involve physical media, the main character destroys the cartridge. Well-known versions of these stories usually involve unknowns, a kind of Pokemon that take the shape of letters, in the player's party of 6 monsters when they turn on the game. They usually spell out things like "I'm dead" or "You're next." It's a very common ending and a very standard path that these stories take. They all tend to flow down the same river in a sense, much like the lost episode pastas and video game creepypasta at large. The general idea for the subgenre of Pokemon video game creepypasta, and by extension the aforementioned lost episode and video game pastas, is that they take an established franchise and attempt to add horror through weird glitches, altered data, and out-of-place deaths that would normally never pass such rigid standards and would never have been allowed to be programmed in the first place, as I have mentioned in the SpongeBob That's It episode. Personally, I think these kinds of stories really fall flat because of their adherence to established, popular ideas and methods. One of the biggest failings of creepypasta writing as a whole that I have seen over the last almost decade is people trying to trend chase, and almost always years too late. We still get many of these in the abuse log a month. It's like trying to make a Slenderman movie many years after the popularity of the concept has faded. Wait, bad example. I will say, though, that despite all of its shortcomings, the Pokemon creepypasta subgenre has created some rather interesting ROM hacks, like the Pokemon Black ROM hack, where it largely follows the concept of the story upon which it was based. However, I will repeat myself. To have something like what is in these kinds of stories coming out of Nintendo with their strict quality standards, even in a back room, and even as a hobbyist programmer at Game Freak, the odds that the Japanese programmers would make something like this and then have the North American or PAL region teams translate it is a bit too, pardon the pun, far-fetched. The PR nightmare that would destroy Game Freak and Nintendo. YouTube videos would be up immediately, and people would have stuff on eBay for thousands. As it stands, I would never have said that this was a subgenre that was going to be able to sustain itself. We don't allow these kinds of stories for the same reasons we don't allow Lost Episode, Zelda, Mario, My Little Pony, or video game pastas in general. Unlike Lost Episode pastas where you have Candle Cove, I can't really recall any Pokemon pasta that has broken the mold. Video game pastas, sure. You have your Bid and Drown story that was the first of its kind to blend video footage with storytelling to create a sort of ARG experience, and use the actual game and tools to create what was shown. It revolutionized creepypasta as more than just a text-based experience that was shared on the internet. It became more of a multimedia affair afterward. Now, if you told me I needed to write a Pokemon creepypasta, I would set about it in one of two ways. Option A. I would make the game not an official copy, but a fan game. Say a fan of the series wants to program his own and, after his brother who got him into the series dies, he decides to immortalize his brother into his own version of a Pokemon game. Perhaps his brother's spirit is programmed into the code to mess with people playfully. That would still bring us back to the overt use of hauntings that pervades the video game genre as a whole. How about this then? Maybe the kid programs AI for the monsters that works a bit too well. Maybe that would wind up more akin to Digimon in that sense, but the idea is that the creatures start to wreck the programmer's computer or even a friend's, and they have to beat the game, or catch them all in order to stop it. Maybe the region's professor is behind it, and he is the last Pokemon battle before they can turn the game off. Option B. Use a regular Pokemon game, nothing supernatural or corrupt about it, as a framing device to explore the main character's childhood, and let that be a backdrop for a family member's death or disappearance. Use the nostalgia of childhood to shield the main character from the trauma happening just past their game screen. Let them hallucinate seeing the scary ghost-type Pokemon to cope with the trauma. Let them use the game as a coping device. Make the game scary through a trauma filtered. These are two of the ways I would make the concept of a spooky Pokemon cartridge. How would you handle the concept of horror in Pokemon? Leave a comment below. I'm rather interested to hear how you would work with this premise. Anyway, thank you for listening. This has been Tales of Abuse, and I have been Cleric of Madness.